Once again, welcome everyone to our special webinar for customers. Today, we're going to dive into new ways to help you master your brand visibility in the age of Gen AI. Feel free to add questions as we go, and we also have time to answer any questions that you have at the end of the session. I'm Roy from the Similarweb product marketing team, and I'm joined today by two of our Gen AI experts, Aaron and Adele. Aaron, maybe you can give us a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. Great to meet everyone. I'm Aaron. I'm an enterprise sales engineer. So really here to work with the product team to showcase the value of the platform. So I'll be doing most of today's demo and looking forward to it.
Amazing. Adele?
Hi everyone, my name's Adele. I am Director of Product Marketing and have worked really closely with our product team on developing our Gen AI suite. So really excited to see it in action today with Aaron, and I'll be on hand along with some of our product team behind the scenes to answer any questions you have on the Q&A.
Thank you both. Now let's start with the why we gather here today. So, as you know, more and more users turn to make their research and decisions with AI. I'm sure everyone on the call does the same thing. We all know it is more important than ever to truly understand your brand visibility in Gen AI and base these insights on the best possible data. And as you know, Similarweb, this is how we start everything, all processes and solutions with trusted data. Our prompt data is normalized from our pool of real user prompt, so you base decisions on real user data. In addition, our Gen AI Intelligence Suite, you might have heard about AI traffic and AI brand visibility. These two tools give you the opportunity to really understand and track AI traffic that goes to every site of you and of your competitors, and also get powerful insights about how to become known in LLMs for your brand and be present and understand your brand visibility. And lastly, we help you to see the whole picture, which is a key point. By combining GEO and SEO, market research, competitive intelligence, benchmarking, Similarweb really ensures you always stay ahead of your competitors, like no other tool in the market. So you never make strategic decisions in isolation. And speaking about bigger picture and holistic view of your market and of your users, it is also important to remember that while ChatGPT is the biggest chatbot and the most popular one, it hasn't overtaken Google. Google still dominates search. Only a small percentage, as you can see, of users use ChatGPT instead of Google. This is why we really encourage you to start today and keep developing that in 2026. So alongside prioritizing AEO and GEO, to not drop SEO from your toolkit. So you really have the overarching ability and capability to look at the competition. And speaking about priorities for now and for 2026, we have a quick question for you, and we would love to really understand where you're at in this process. So are you already currently tracking if your brand appears in Gen AI responses? We have a few options, whether it's yes, somehow, somewhat, not yet, or maybe just no. We would love to see the honest answer for where you are in this process. So we'll give it just a few more seconds to see the results. All right, so 48% of you say that somewhat, and 25% said yes, so that's quite encouraging. Only 26% said not yet or not at all. Aaron, Adele, is this a surprising fact for you, or was this something you expected for?
I think it's such a new industry still that even when people are tracking it, everyone's not sure of the exact metrics to track, which ones matter more than others. So it really makes sense that people are at the beginning of their journey here. So yeah, Aaron, what have you seen as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, definitely agree. I think one thing I hear from a lot of customers is they're really trying to understand what is the right measurement framework for this, right? I know it's such a new space. It's such a disruptor and getting a lot of questions around it. So really understanding the data behind what you're tracking and what is the right measurement framework that can lead to actual insights from a product perspective or just from an overall analysis and benchmarking perspective.
Love it. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Adele, for your perspective. And again, speaking about how to become more strategic, how to rely on the right data, I think the key obvious reason why we must prioritize AEO is that ChatGPT growth is just huge. It's now the fifth most visited website in the world, higher than Wikipedia, Reddit, and Amazon. And with updates such as Google search launching AI mode, Perplexity and Claude growing, the world of Gen AI is only going one way, which is up. So it's really important than ever to just keep a track of this ever-evolving landscape. So now let's move to the focus of today's conversation, and Aaron will have a live demo in just a couple of minutes. Just to quickly remind you, we launched our Gen AI intelligence tool earlier this year. Hopefully you already watched our previous webinar where we introduced the AI brand visibility tool, which covers campaign setup, visibility tracking, and key metrics. But if you haven't watched it, don't worry, it's always available on our Knowledge Center. But today we'll show you how our brand new reports in this tool that highlight deeper performance metrics and new ways to take action to improve your Gen AI visibility. We got 3 new ways to master this Gen AI visibility using the brand visibility platform. First, we will dive into prompt analysis and we will show you how we can help you to understand what people actually search for. Then we'll move to the new citation analysis, which really helps to identify the domains and URLs that are influencing the responses coming from AI. And lastly, we will show you brand sentiment, also a new report to truly understand how you track your brand perception in Gen AI. But of course, we will show you a few more other exciting parts of the platform. So again, feel free to drop any question that you have in the chat. And if you have your platform open next to you, feel free to follow the steps that we are guiding you through. So before I hand over to Aaron for the live anticipated demo, we do have one last question for you just before we start. So just a few minutes ago, we asked you about your brand appearance on Gen AI. Now let's see what kind of action you already take to develop that GEO or AEO strategy. So really appreciate if you could answer this quick poll question. What action you already taking to improve your AI brand visibility? Are you already taking action? Maybe you're doing some homework and some work for AEO, or you feel confident to say you have full AI, AEO strategy and it's a core focus area for your business. So again, really interesting to see the results coming in just a few seconds. And okay, this is a clear cut. 62% of you saying they're doing some work for AEO. 27%, which is interesting, are not yet doing that, and only 11% see that as a core focus area. Aaron, Adele, do you think this is aligned with the previous answer, or you anticipated to see something different?
Yeah, I think this makes sense. I think that the fact that we've got 11% who've got a full AEO strategy and are going after it is great. Hopefully, after today, we'll be able to help some folks get some more both tactics and strategies because the two are really different. So, yeah, there's so much opportunity here. And like we say, it's fast moving. That's why we've developed our tool to be a daily tracking tool because we see that things change. So, before September, we saw that Reddit was by far the biggest citation source for the chatbots. And since September, that has gone down. So, again, when you're choosing which tactics or which strategies to employ, you need to keep an eye on things and how they change. So, I think, again, we're still at the advent of what's going on here and learning best practices as we go. So, yeah, plenty more to get stuck into, and some more tactics will emerge soon as well, I'm sure.
Amazing. Thank you, Adele. And now, Aaron, over to you to see it all in action.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so to Adele's point, right? The goal of this session is to first of all give you guys an insight into our Gen AI module. So we'll start with the overall brand visibility, also dive into AI traffic. And then in terms of actionability, we'll also uncover some workflows where we can use some of this data to then improve, let's say, Lululemon's visibility or citation or influence on different topics. Within your account, you should have access to this demo campaign here. So today's demo, I'll go through Lululemon's campaign that we have set up. Just a quick note when it comes to setting up campaigns, a couple of different parameters that we need to enter, right? So in this sense, we're looking at Lululemon shop domain. We're scanning for the brand name right here. And we also do set up different topics. And the topic part is really important because it's what we're tracking, right? So just to take a step back and go into our methodology, Similarweb sets on real user prompts and behavior. And when we're looking at different topics, what we're doing is we're clubbing real prompts and behavior under those different topics, and then actually querying the LLMs to then bring in the responses and citations and other data sets like that. So in this example, this is the brand overview page for Lululemon. A couple different metrics that we're looking at here. The first one is visibility. So understanding, is Lululemon being mentioned in answers, yes or no, right? Additionally, we also have brand mention share, which also takes into account the other brands are being mentioned. So we're looking at leggings and yoga pants. We know that Lululemon has a pretty high visibility, but at the likes of Athleta, Nike, Fabletics, and other brands here. So it can also use this tool as a discovery tool, right? What other competitors are in our space that maybe have higher visibility for different topics that we care about. And the topics we set up here are pretty broad, right? So we have different lines of businesses. Then we also do have, let's say, a hobby like yoga, but also other more specific lines of business like sustainable activewear. And what we're doing is we're tracking these prompts every day for these topics and then bringing the responses and then reporting on the data here. Okay. So this is the overview page. And let's dive a bit deeper into the prompts. So if we want to focus on sustainable activewear, we can then look at the prompts that Similarweb is clubbing into that topic. So what we're doing here is we have about 30 or 50 different prompts that's based on real user behavior. So we're normalizing these prompts and we're aggregating them to a clustered prompt right here. And then, as we mentioned in terms of the methodology, what we're doing is we're then prompting the LLMs with this actual prompt, bringing in the response, and then scanning for the brands that are being mentioned. So a bit more into the methodology and how we're looking at visibility is every day we're querying the topic, bringing the responses, scanning for the brands, and also understanding the citations and the sentiment of how your brand is being mentioned within those responses. So it's a bit different than methodologies where they're using an API feed, because here we're actually bringing in the real responses, and because of that, we're able to get citations and also more in depth into how the LLMs are thinking and how those citations are influencing the responses. So within these prompts here, a couple different action items is, first of all, understanding where and when is your brand being mentioned, right? So in this sense, we have a good view of which prompts is Lululemon being mentioned, but where the actionability comes from is in understanding where they're not being mentioned, right? So if we look at all these prompts here, let's say we want to focus on this prompt right here, right? Lululemon isn't being mentioned, but now we have a sense of what brands are being mentioned and also the citations are influencing that response. So then Lululemon can go and influence different prompts and responses based on the citations that we see influencing the responses here. We'll dive a bit deeper into that in a second. So we can export these prompts as well. So if you want a list of the prompts we're tracking for different topics, we have Excel button here, and you'll see this among the platform as well throughout the different modules. Great. So the next part of the demo, I'll now go into our citation analysis. And let's remain on a topic around improving Lululemon's visibility for sustainable activewear, right? So in order to help improve your influence in the responses, it's really good to understand what is driving those responses. And in this view, we're looking at the last 3 months, and we're looking at the topic sustainable activewear, right? And what this data is showing is it's basically bringing in all the responses that we have queried for sustainable activewear and bringing in the top cited sources, then understand what is influencing the responses. So for every single response, we're bringing in the citations here. And then in this view, we have just a heat map basically of what are the main influencers in this space. So for example, Reddit as a source has a pretty high domain influence score, right? So 14% of the citations that we see in the responses for this category or this topic that we're prompting is being influenced by Reddit citations. So Reddit is the biggest one that we see here. But we also can use this to discover what other publishers or either competitors or influences are affecting the responses as well. And you can use this also from a research perspective to understand other domains they may not even know about, right? So for this topic right here, we have a list of all the top influencing domains. These are the top ones here. We also can click into the other ones. So you see all these other players in this space. But additionally, what's really interesting is we have visibility into the exact URLs and can tie them back to the prompts because of our data methodology. And where this can be really helpful is if Lululemon wants to improve their visibility for this topic right here, by understanding the top domains with the highest influence, right? So let's say we look at sustainabilitychic.com. We know that this is an influential source for this topic and how the LLMs are thinking, right? And additionally, we also get a sense of what prompts or responses is this URL itself influencing. So for these responses where Lululemon is not being mentioned, right? But sustainability chic is influencing the responses, right? These are all areas of opportunity for content optimization, let's say, or partnership opportunities with the specific publishers or influencers that we see for this topic. What's also really interesting too is we can get down to the Reddit URLs. I know this is been a big topic for a lot of our customers, the influence of Reddit in this space. So if we were to query just the Reddit domains, because we know that they're a pretty influential source in this space. If we query just Reddit domains, we actually pull in the subreddits and the comments are influencing that. And what we notice is that it's not always the top comments for each thread, right? It's really based on the type of comment it is and the content that it has. But for this comment, let's say, right, you can also click into this button to open up the actual URL. We can then understand what prompts this comment is influencing. And in this sense, Lululemon isn't being mentioned as well, right? So these are also areas of opportunity where you can influence Reddit as a source, either through organic posting or just having a better brand presence across the board, because you know that that's a big influencer on how the LLMs are thinking. And these are the exact, let's say, subreddits or type of content within the comments that we noticed there. Another workflow too that I've been seeing a lot of is understanding what types of content have been working. So we've been seeing a lot of listicles have been being picked up a lot. So also using this as a way to validate your thesis around like what type of content is working. Is it versus content? Is it listicle content? Is it comparative content, right? Or best brand content. So also ability to look at this and segment out the different types of content pieces that are working can also help inform your content strategy going forward as you improve your GEO presence. Okay. And then next, we also have citation or sentiment analysis, sorry. So additionally, not only do we have a sense of, first of all, if your brand is being mentioned or not, what is prompting the queries that users are bringing in, and also what's influencing the responses, we also have visibility into the sentiment around your brand when being mentioned for different topics. And there's a lot of different actionability workflows here that I think would be super helpful. So first of all, it's not only just understanding when your brand is being mentioned in a positive light, it's also good to know when you're being mentioned in a negative light, right? So for each of these topics, let's say we stick on that sustainable activewear topic here, we can understand, first of all, for all your mentions in this topic for each prompt, how are you being mentioned? And the way we do this is we bring in the responses, like I mentioned, for each of the prompts that we see. And then we're looking at your brand mentions, Lululemon here. And then based on the response and how the brand is being spoken about or mentioned here, we then apply a sentiment to it, right? So is it a positive, neutral, or negative sentiment? And in this case, since Lululemon has several options with UV protection, wide grades, high performance activewear, right? We're deeming that as a positive mention for the specific prompt. So understanding how the brand's being mentioned, I think is the next step in terms of understanding the how users think about your brand and then where you can improve. But also to this point, understand the negative mentions can also be a great workflow, right? And for this example, if we look at where Lululemon is being mentioned, but in a negative light, let's say we look at this prompt right here, right? Are there any sustainable activewear brands that offer tall sizes? Lululemon is being mentioned, as you see here, because they faced some criticism in the past. They made strides for sustainability, right? They offer tall sizes. And it's just understanding how it's being mentioned. So since they're not as sustainable in this mention, we're deeming that as a negative mention. So it just another outlook into, or another data set into how brands are being perceived on the LLMs by looking at, where the opportunities are, right? Let's say the negative mentions. This is where we then can understand where can we improve our sentiment or presence across different topics, across different prompts and responses. Okay. And from a benchmarking view too, this is also great because we have understanding to other competitors. So let's say we look at sustainable activewear, right? What we're saying is that Lululemon's score in terms of sentiment for this topic is around 68%, to the likes of Girlfriend Collective, which is 93%, right? So to me, for this topic, Girlfriend Collective is doing a great job of making sure they're being mentioned for this topic in a positive sentiment. And then from an actionability standpoint, what we can then do is then understand for the prompts that they're being mentioned in, why are they being mentioned in the positive light? Is it the citations that they're influence different? Is it, certain, product pages or messaging that they're using that a Lululemon isn't? So this is also another way to understand opportunities based on that sentiment score across different competitors that you see here. So that is the, most of the modules that we have for the visibility aspect. So just to recap, right? It's basically able to understand on a daily basis your visibility across different topics against other competitors with this visibility and mention share. So just overall benchmarking, understanding your visibility, how much of influence your competitors have in this space. And additionally, understanding real user behavior. So what actual prompts around this topic are do we see our customers or demographics prompting the LLMs with? And additionally, now understanding how the LLMs are thinking, right? So what citations are driving those prompts? And then lastly, when looking at sentiment, understanding how your brand is being mentioned and how to improve the overall sentiment of your brand by looking at the responses across different topics. Okay. So now we're going to transition to what we call AI traffic. I know Rory mentioned this in terms of our methodology. So with our platform, there's two different modules, right? The first one that we just went through, which was the bulk of today's demo, is the brand visibility. But because Similarweb also has visibility into real user behavior, we also have visibility into traffic coming from the LLMs. So not only do we have a sense of GEO visibility, but now we can get down to the actionability part by measuring and benchmarking traffic from these LLMs to then see if this is a growing space. This is something that we want to start double down in because we know that there's a lot of traffic coming from it. So in this view, we have Lululemon set up here. We're looking at year to date, and we're looking at traffic just from LLMs. So in this view, we have ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and just look at the trend of traffic from LLMs to Lululemon, right? It's definitely up and to the right, which means that more people are using LLMs as a way to search or shop. And this is actual real clicks coming from either citations or product mentions within the LLMs to Lululemon. So if we saw someone click on a citation and go to Lululemon, we're picking up on that, and then we're able to also attribute which LLM it's coming from. And additionally, we can also understand what landing pages are getting the most traffic, right? And I think the traffic aspect is super important because it gives you a sense of what's working and what's not working. So in this example, we understand that, okay, the shop page is getting a lot of the traffic from LLMs, but also certain products are really resonating with the LLMs, right? So Everywhere Backpack is getting about 3% of all traffic from the LLMs. So being able to understand either what categories or products are resonating for your audience on the LLMs by looking at actual traffic can be super insightful into what products should you be prioritizing and what is resonating with the audience on ChatGPT. And it's good to look at it not only just at your website, but when looking at it for competitors too, understanding what's working for them, right? Are there any products or collections or categories that's working for, let's say, Gap or Alo Yoga, right? That maybe Lululemon can then understand and double down in those categories because we know that those LLMs are resonating for those certain products or lines of businesses there. Additionally, from a benchmarking workflow, if you were to compare, let's say the traffic from LLMs from Lululemon, but also to your competitive set, just to get a sense of how the competitors are utilizing this channel or just how this channel is impacting the industry, we can add in different competitors here. So we can add in Urban Outfitters, Aritzia, Alo Yoga. And now we have a clean view of where we stack up in terms of AI traffic, but also the trend of it. In this view, we see Lululemon in the navy. So as of October, they have surpassed Urban Outfitters in terms of traffic from LLMs. Urban Outfitters is definitely more of a broad apparel company. So maybe let's look at Alo Yoga, for example, right? So we can measure over time how are our competitors doing in this space, but also how does our traffic benchmark across the board to other competitors here. And yet that's what I wanted to go through. So just to take a step back, visibility is definitely key, but also understanding the traffic, going to different pages, competitors is also a measure super insightful metric because it's a channel that's been disrupting a lot of organic and typical SEO benchmarks and metrics. So understanding AI traffic and then understanding the downstream traffic from the LLMs can help you improve your AEO strategy and understand what areas you can improve upon. Okay. Rory, back to you.
Thank you, Aaron. You covered so much in such a short time. Traffic and visibility, definitely the two highlights and the two key takeaways. I'll just go back to the deck for a second. Oh, there it is. So, I mean, Aaron, thanks again for the great demo. We did cover a lot, so I just wanted to quickly recap the key areas and steps so it's easy to remember what we covered. So, as Aaron walked us through, we covered brand visibility, the way that we introduced earlier this year to really help you be present and influence where your audience is searching for answers and want to engage with LLMs. Then we moved to the new prompt analysis and the enhancement that we introduced recently, so you can see prompts showing up in answers that you're after. Then the new citation analysis, which really helps you to level up the AI brand visibility tool by spotting which domains and URLs have the most influence on searches and ways to understand the brand. And the new sentiment analysis, which again helps you to understand how are you being mentioned, what is the attribute and the thought behind people searching for your brand. Is it negative? Is it neutral? Is it positive? And we wrap up with understanding the traffic to Aaron's point. So you don't only understand your brand sentiment and how people search for it, but actually see what LLMs are driving traffic to your site and what prompts are driving traffic to your competitors. So you can really understand any gaps and any strengths that you have in this competitive landscape. We really encourage you to go and watch the previous webinar and some other materials available on our Knowledge Center. And of course, if you don't find the answer for your question there, feel free to reach out to your account manager or customer success manager with any questions.